February 1944. High above western Germany, the sky appeared deceptively calm. A pale winter sun filtered through thin layers of cloud, casting long reflections across aluminum wings. At 26,000 feet, German fighter pilots scanned the upper altitudes, eyes trained on where danger was supposed to come from. Above them lay the threat of escort fighters. Below them, only empty air, or so they believed. Then the sound arrived, a deep, grinding thunder, not from the heavens alone, but rising upward from beneath their formations. It was the sound of American P-47 Thunderbolts, climbing hard, attacking from directions German doctrine had never prepared them for. For years, Luftwaffe training had conditioned pilots to expect combat along predictable vertical lines. Fighters climbed above enemy bombers, dove down with speed, fired and disengaged. Altitude was safety. Height was dominance. What German pilots expected was simple. American fighters would remain high, protecting bombers, reluctant to give up altitude. What they experienced instead shattered those assumptions. The P-47 Thunderbolt was not built like any fighter the Germans had encountered before. It was enormous by fighter standards, nearly twice the weight of a Messerschmitt Bf 109. On paper, it appeared clumsy. Early Luftwaffe intelligence reports dismissed it as slow to climb and unsuited for close combat. German pilots believed it could be avoided by superior tactics and altitude control. That belief would prove dangerously outdated. The historical context behind this shock lay in American industrial design philosophy. The Thunderbolt was not built around elegance or minimalism. It was built around excess. At its heart roared the Pratt & Whitney R2800 Double Wasp, a massive radial engine producing over 2,000 horsepower. 8.50 caliber machine guns lined its wings. Its airframe was armored, fuel tanks self-sealing, control systems redundant. It was not meant to be fragile. It was meant to survive and return. By early 1944, American commanders shifted Thunderbolt tactics in a way that stunned German airmen. Instead of remaining exclusively above bomber formations, P-47 units began operating across multiple altitude layers simultaneously. Some squadrons stayed high, diving with tremendous speed. Others dropped low, sometimes near ground level, before climbing back into combat. The result was a vertical ambush. German pilots found themselves attacked from above and below, caught inside a three-dimensional kill zone they had never trained for. Combat reports from Jagdgeschwader units describe this confusion in clinical language. Pilots wrote of being surprised by enemy fighters rising rapidly from below, and of attacks executed simultaneously from higher and lower altitude. One Luftwaffe officer later admitted that the Thunderbolt destroyed their sense of spatial safety. The sky was no longer a ladder with clear steps. It had become a trap. Emotionally, the contrast was profound. German pilots entered combat expecting control through experience and doctrine. Many were veterans of multiple fronts. They believed American pilots relied on numbers, not innovation. Instead, they encountered a machine and a method that absorbed punishment and punished mistakes mercilessly. When German fighters dove to escape attacks from above, Thunderbolts rose to meet them. When they climbed for advantage, Thunderbolts dropped from the sun with terminal velocity dives exceeding 500 miles per hour. Historical evidence confirms the psychological impact. By mid-1944, Luftwaffe loss rates increased sharply during escort engagements. U.S. 8th Air Force records show P-47 units claiming hundreds of aerial victories while maintaining survivability unmatched by earlier escort fighters. Pilots often returned with extensive battle damage, missing control surfaces, engines leaking oil, yet still landed safely. The Thunderbolt did not need to win gracefully. It needed to endure. The recurring symbol of this story is sound, the thunderous growl of the radial engine. Unlike the sharper whine of inline engines, the Thunderbolt announced itself with a deep, relentless roar. German pilots reported hearing it before seeing it, sometimes from unexpected directions. That sound coming from below, climbing fast, contradicted everything they believed about fighter combat. It was the audible proof of American abundance, fuel enough to climb repeatedly, engines powerful enough to defy gravity, factories capable of replacing losses without hesitation. This experience triggered a transformation in German perception. Luftwaffe doctrine, once based on precision and conservation, began collapsing under the realization that the enemy did not need to conserve. The Americans could afford to attack aggressively, absorb losses, and return tomorrow with even more aircraft. Thunderbolts escorted bombers deep into Germany, then descended to strafe airfields, locomotives, and supply columns, further eroding German morale. The same aircraft that attacked fighters at altitude would return hours later at treetop level, engines still roaring. Captured German pilots frequently expressed disbelief during interrogations. They spoke of the Thunderbolt as an aircraft that, quote, should not have been able to do what it did. That phrase reveals more than tactical surprise. It reflects ideological shock. The Thunderbolt represented a system that valued durability, redundancy, and scale over perfection. It was democracy expressed in metal, heavy, loud, imperfect, but relentless. By late 1944, German pilots no longer assumed safety at any altitude. The vertical battlefield belonged to the Americans. Thunderbolts attacked wherever opportunity appeared, rewriting the rules of aerial engagement. What began as disbelief turned into resignation. The sky itself had changed. In the epilogue of this story, one truth remains clear. The Thunderbolt did not win through elegance or finesse. It won through overwhelming presence. Its thunder was the sound of factories, workers, and pilots acting as one. It symbolized a nation that believed power could be shared, multiplied, and sustained. German pilots never expected attacks from above and below because they had never faced a society capable of fighting in all dimensions at once. And long after the engines fell silent, that thunder echoed in memory, a reminder that freedom backed by abundance and collective will can reshape even the laws of the sky.